broadband thing is Starlink, right? Starlink.
All right, everybody. The commissioners are here at the Park Street Complex. We're getting started. I'm going to ask everybody to put yourselves on mute. I don't want to interfere with their programming, so everybody please mute so we can hear. We are recording this, so it'll be available on the portal when it's over, and I will hand it off to the county commissioners.
Good morning, everybody. We want to thank you very much for taking the time to be here this morning, or for taking the time at a later time to listen to this. It's so important that we reconnect and say hello and talk about everything that's going on in the last year. So we really wanted to come together and talk to you a little bit more about what's been happening. And most importantly, thank you for everything that you have done in this past incredibly difficult year. We are all extremely grateful for all that you've done to keep each other safe, to be careful, to be smart, and to continue to do your job and take care of the residents of Wayne County. We couldn't be more proud of everything that we're hearing from our department heads, from many of you, and we really are very, very anxious to reconnect. One of the unfortunate downsides of the pandemic is the fact that we haven't been able to come around, and I'm still new, and there's many of you that I haven't met, and we will change that soon. We're sorry that we haven't been able to come around, but we're also trying to keep each other safe. We're trying to abide by all of the policies that we put in place. So although there's a light at the end of the tunnel, although we're not there yet, we urge you to continue to be diligent, to be careful, to continue to keep each other safe, to be smart, and to be very kind to each other as we work our way out of this pandemic. We wanted to share with you a lot of what we have been doing in the past year since we haven't seen you as much. It was a very busy year. We had federal CARES money that was allocated directly to the county. We had just over $4 million handed to the county to help offset some of the economic downside of this pandemic. And we set up a fund to help shore up our small businesses in the area and nonprofits so that they could continue to stay in operation and serve Wayne County, so that they could continue to employ people, and the nonprofits, they could continue to work on their missions. We also dedicated about $1 million of that money to broadband and the expansion of service in this county, and that continues to grow. We had an unprecedented election last fall with a turnout rate of over 79%, which we were really excited about.
Yeah, the coffee cups right there, and the coffee's in the
fair election last fall, and we're very happy that many people participated and that many people helped us in that election process as well. Now I want to talk about Wayne Tomorrow a little bit, and I'll certainly let Brian and Joe jump in with their topics this morning as well. Hopefully, many of you have heard of Wayne Tomorrow. It's an initiative that these commissioners and previous commissioners, Wendell Kay and Jonathan Fritz, started several years ago to try to move the county forward economically and improve the quality of life here in Wayne County. And they brought together many other members from the community so that all these initiatives could have community buy-in from the beginning, and that many people were on board to help plan initiatives that would move our county forward. Some of those initiatives include an Ag Innovation Center, a Recovery to Work program, and hopefully a lot of you have heard about the recreational projects around Hankins Dam and our trails and waterways in our own industrial point right here in Honesdale. I'm going to let Brian speak to some of the specifics of those projects. I want to, if those of you who do not know Kim Rickert, who helps us with the Wayne Tomorrow initiative, she'll be sharing a newsletter with all of our employees. So please stay tuned, and we want to hear from you. Questions, issues, please let us know. Brian, why don't you tell us more about the specifics of the project?
So again, I just want to reiterate the fact that we very much appreciate what our employees have had to deal with. This pandemic has been stressful on everybody. I want to tell you that we've sat in the office many days and just worked on policies to try to get through this. But today is really to talk to you not only about how much we appreciate what you do, but what we hope that you can appreciate what we've been working on. This Wayne Tomorrow venture started quite a few years ago now, but it really started because of the jobs that we were losing in our area, because of the decrease in our youth population, because of the increase in our aging population, and to try to look at all the markers and be more proactive in government than reactive in government. And I think that we've made great strides in to be able to address some of the things that were real challenges when we first started Wayne Tomorrow. First of all, getting people to sit around the table and listen to one another without breaking into an argument was a real task. But we decided that we would push through that. We looked for common ground. We looked for things that we could work on. And I think that we've really gotten a grasp on how to deal with one another and how to get along, even though we don't always agree. And I've told people in the past that if I'm married to a woman that I do not always agree with, however, I still kiss her every morning. I'm happy to see her every morning. And then at the end of the day, we go to bed together. So you don't have to agree with everybody, but you should try to appreciate what everybody is talking about. And that form of government has really become something I think Wayne County stands out and uses as a model in the state of Pennsylvania and is recognized now as something that really gains us good ground. Some of the stuff that we looked at in Wayne Tomorrow originally was the fact, again, of job loss. We lost Cotz's factory, we lost Cramer 2, we lost American Wire and Rope, we lost more business forms. We lost a ton of jobs at the same time that we were losing agriculture and agriculture production and farmers going out of business at a staggering rate. There was a point in time when we had 1,700 farms in production agriculture making milk in this county. We currently have about 40. But one of the things that we were able to do with agriculture is recognize that that does create common ground. We all do have to eat. We all do have to plan for our future and nourish our children and hopefully use that in a way that would bring us all together in a project that we could recognize the importance of. That actually worked quite well. When we got together and we started talking about the projects that we wanted to do for the future, everybody agreed that farmers are important. Everybody worked with the school district, and Wayne Highlands put into place an agricultural curriculum because we need to go full circle. When you have a bunch of farmers that are going out of business and a bunch of people that are retiring, you've got to address the youth and try to educate them on how important it is to have agriculture. And those particular agriculture curriculums filled up very quickly. The teacher and the school and the community and Wayne Tomorrow were able to collaborate and get put into place a Future Farmers of America, an FFA chapter. And there were people that years ago said, we will never have an FFA chapter here in Wayne County again. But with the recognition of the full circle need to not only watch people redevelop their farms into a production of food, we knew that we needed children who would take the place of those people who were retiring and getting out of the business. So we have everything in place now except for the processing plants that we need to make it full circle. One of the things we're working on right now is a dairy processing plant. We got a location up in Waymart that we think is going to work for us, but we have to finalize the details. But those business plans have been put together and all but finalized. We have people who are working on a slaughterhouse effort because we know that we can raise beef in this county. We know that there's a need for beef, but we need a place to slaughter that beef. That could go in pretty much the same location. They can be co-located. They can't just be one right on top of one another, but Waymart seems to be a place where we have the infrastructure. Route 6, we have natural gas, we have the power, and all we need is to finalize the plans to put those things in place. The one thing that played right into this is the hospital at the same time became what they call a rural health model, where they want to try to keep people healthy as opposed to just treating sick people. So they know too that they need a food pharmacy. So that's part of the big picture also, is these pharmacies, food pantries have become a big thing. Through the epidemic, we learned how important it was to feed people who were going hungry. My co-commissioners here, Joe and Jocelyn particularly, with a bunch of other people, worked very hard to put together food distributions that fed people and really made a difference in our community. Again, showed us as a standout community in the state of Pennsylvania, widely recognized for our efforts and the things that we've accomplished. Not only have we got a dairy processing and a slaughterhouse, but if you ever go to Lancaster and you see the way that they collaborate when they're selling their wares and the people who do different things down there, they really have the model that we look for what we call a ag innovation system. Somewhere where we're going to do some research and development, somewhere where we're going to do some marketing, somewhere where we can put together an educational effort to teach people how important their food is, and all the things that are in and around that. There's other things that we've been working on, not just that. Many people in this county have been working with us in an effort to keep SCI Waymart a very important place to employ people. When we heard years ago now that they were going to close SCI Waymart, it was of great concern to us. There's a lot of jobs. So instead of just fighting the closure, we actually were proactive again. Some of us went to Harrisburg. Some of us spoke at open forums. Some of us talked to our legislators, and we told them that SCI Waymart was not a place that should be shut down because of the acreage, because of the co-location of the federal prison, because there's so many people who already accept institutional life at that side of our county. We said SCI Waymart, with the property that's available to develop, should be a property that is developed and further developed to help the people that could be helped. We know that we've had an epidemic of drug abuse. So one of the things that we put together is Recovery to Work, where people can not only be treated for their abuse and their addiction, but also be trained to go to work and do jobs and be part of the community where they are successful and successful citizens that can buy a car, build a house, raise a family, pay their taxes, and really be part of an equation that's a productive equation and part of a great society here in Wayne County. So other things in recreation that we're working on is we did acquire Hankins Dam, where partly through that acquisition, we actually did get the deed for it. We are working on the process right now of going to our engineers. They're going to increase the opening of Hankins Dam and make it so that it no longer qualifies as a dam, but still exists as a historical structure that used to feed the canals in this county. We're working on trailways. I know that many of you have had an opportunity to look at the trailway that we put behind the Stourbridge complex, and it's a beautiful walkway that really allows people to look at the river and enjoy a close proximity to the river. And some people have even taken advantage of going down there and studying plants, looking at how we can kill invasive species. Schools are looking at microorganisms, crustaceans, things that grow in the river that feed the fish and make healthy waterways. So it's really turned into something great. We plan on developing Industrial Point. We have a plan for that. There's another walkway down there, but we have so many topics to talk about. I want to jump right into broadband. Jocelyn had talked about broadband and the things that we've accomplished. We have not stopped talking about broadband. We do have an opportunity through the American Recovery Plan to possibly get $9 million that we could spend on, in part, broadband, but we're waiting for the details and we're waiting for the outline to tell us exactly what we can spend that money on. So stay tuned. We got a lot of good things going on. Starlink has come. Starlink is a way that you can get broadband no matter your topography, no matter what your proximity is to fiber optic, to access to broadband. So a lot of our camps have been able to, in low-lying areas, access the equipment and sign up for Starlinks and get good broadband that they need for the kids that are coming to their park. So with that, I'm just going to introduce Joe. Joe is going to talk about our Commissioner Joe Adams, who I'm very proud to work with, as well as Jocelyn. Going to introduce one of the things that we're trying to accomplish in a countywide reassessment. Joe, it's all yours.
Thanks, Brian. First and foremost, I want to thank our entire team here at the county. We're very proud of you and the work and efforts that you put in over the last year and the past up to 40 years. We do have people who have been here as much as 40 years to serve the people of Wayne County. So thank you very much for all of those efforts. The reassessment project. The reassessment project is out there, and right now there will be a very large educational component to it, but the reassessment is all about fairness. When taxes paid are a function of the value of your property and the assessment of your property, and those two are not in line with each other, then it's time for a reassessment. It's also unfair. Some people are paying too much, some people are paying too little, and some people are paying about what is correct. So the true tradition of reassessment, a third of the people might pay more, a third will probably pay about the same, and a third will probably pay less than what they are now. And it's this unfairness and inaccuracies that they've developed over the last 17 years. The last reassessment was 2004. And what's happened since 2004 is some neighborhoods have exploded in value and some neighborhoods may have stayed the same or maybe slightly gone down. So there is a wide disparity in what the value of property changes have been since 2004. The reassessment does not create any new tax revenue. It does not increase taxes. It is revenue neutral. So that is something that's very important for the public and for everybody here to understand. There are no new taxes and no new revenue created from a reassessment. It is all about redistribution from a fairness standpoint. So bottom line, if your property is worth $100,000, then your taxes should be based and paid based on a property worth $100,000. Likewise, if your property is worth $1 million, then your taxes should be based on a worth of a property of $1 million. This is all about financial and taxation fairness. There's a letter that's going to be sent to all property owners explaining the process and the need, and each property owner will also receive a letter from the county and Tyler to verify the conditions and the attributes of their property. We hired Tyler to help us with this project, and Tyler is a company that has done multiple county reassessments in Pennsylvania. In fact, they've done multiple reassessments around the world. They are one of the highest rated and most expert reassessment companies in the United States and the world. And this project is planned to be completed by 2023. To help the public understand the process and the need, we have scheduled 7 information meetings around the county, beginning in Newfoundland. Actually, Beach Lake is the first one, but Newfoundland South Elementary, all the way to Northern Wayne County Fire Company and locations in between. These meetings will be scheduled over the next 3 weeks, and they're open forums. Some of them will be recorded. There will be a question and answer period. We will be there, the assessment office will be there, and Tyler will be there to help the public be educated and understand and offer answers to their questions. And lastly, on the reassessment, all of this information is available on our website through the tax assessment tab, and it's also available on all of our social media posts and platforms as well. So it is a big project. It does have a significant impact on the taxpayers and residents of Wayne County, but it's all about fairness, and the plan is to have it in place for 2023. So that's the reassessment. At this point, we're going to do a wrap up of our call today. And again, I thank you personally for all of your efforts, and we'll wrap up now. So at this point, I'll turn it back to Brian and Jocelyn for some final comments.
Thank you, Joe. And I think it's important that everybody does understand the reassessment, because hopefully those of you who work for the county can be somewhat of an ambassador for the county, because truly we have a great county. Truly, we have a lot of people like yourselves who care about the people of this county and provide the services that need to be provided. So Mickey does have a few questions I see in the distance there, and if she wants to help us.
Yeah, those are actually comments, or just comments about the sound, because we needed Jocelyn to speak
Okay.
up a little bit. But
Okay.
if anybody has any questions, you can use the chat at
And
the
if
bottom
not-
of your screen.
If not, I mean, we're happy to wrap it up here. And again, we all want you to know how much we appreciate what you've done through this pandemic. We all want you to know that we very much miss coming around and talking to people and going to different departments and going to the prison and going to 911. And we have not done that. We refrained and stayed in our offices pretty much so that we are not spreading anything, so that we are setting an example for others to try not to spread anything. But clearly, again, I'll leave you with these words from movie of The Postman. Stuff's getting better, and stuff's getting better every day.
Fantastic.
Thanks, everybody, again, for joining us. It was really important to us that you knew some of these details about the Wayne Tomorrow projects and about the upcoming assessment. So again, we're here. Our offices are open for questions. And thank you again.
We do have one question in the chat. Does the inflated property values due to the pandemic have an effect on the assessment values?
The answer to that is all properties are going to be evaluated and appraised, but it's a relative situation. So if inflation happens in properties, which certainly is happening now, properties are worth more now than they were 2 years ago, it's countywide. So the whole reassessment and assessment process is set up to have all properties in the county relative to each other in market value be accurate. So it is not going to do anything from a standpoint of increasing taxation revenues. However, the overall value of all properties has certainly gone higher. I mean, high tide raises all boats. So however, there are some properties, say, for example, a lakefront on Lake Wallenpaupack has gone up at a faster pace than a nice home on North Main Street in Honesdale. So overall, it's all about fairness. It's all about what the market value of people's properties are at this time and at this place to make sure that it's equalized from a standpoint of fairness and that it's equalized from a standpoint of relative to other properties within the county. Again, if there's a $100,000 house that's now, 15 years ago, that's now worth $200,000, it should be assessed and taxation should be based at 200. If there was a house that was $500,000 15 years ago, and now it's worth $3 million, it should be assessed based on the value of that $3 million. So certain neighborhoods have grown faster and they will be, it will be accounted for based on the market value of the properties today.
And keep in mind that when we talk about, high tide raises all boats, that is the base assessment that everything is gauged off of. So we share that assessment across the board with the school districts and their subdivisions. They use the same assessment numbers as we use. But then what we do with that assessment is we look at the revenue that the county needs to pay for our operations and to pay for our services. And then we apply a multiplication factor against that base assessment, which is called millage, to come up with the total value of revenue that we need. So if the overall assessment does go up a great deal, that just means that we will have to adjust millage because remember, we're saying this is revenue neutral to the county. So the revenue that we generate is not going to be any more. So the millage rate will have to decrease as a multiplication factor against that baseline assessment to still stay at the same revenue for the county. That's determined by law.
We do have another question in the chat. There's been a lot of vandalism at Park Street. Are there cameras installed currently? And they're asking about increased security.
There actually is cameras installed. We have a picture of the kid who climbed up on the wall and wrote the signal on the wall, but nobody can identify this young man yet. However, our deputies did see people pulling signs out of the playground and throwing them in the river real time, and went out there and caught them, and they're being penalized for the things that they've been engaged in. So yes, there are cameras. We are seeing and catching people, and we will continue to do so.
I don't see any additional comments in the chat. We'll give it a minute if anybody's typing.
One last item on tax assessment while we wait for the last questions, if there are any. This has already been funded, by the way, so there is not an additional cost from a taxation standpoint to the county. We restructured our debt a number of years ago to include taking out the monies available that we know we're going to need to complete this project. So the process of reassessment is not going to cause us to, at the county level, to have to increase our millages, as Brian said, to pay for the professional services of this reassessment. So, that seems to be a myth out there too. It's really expensive, and our taxes are going to have to go up because of the completion of this project. That's already included in our tax base, has been fully funded, and will not be a reason for future increases.
I don't see any additional
Any
questions
other
or
questions from anybody?
comments in the chat.
Yeah,
There we
I would. Andrew brought up a good point. We are encouraging recycling throughout the county. We are here at the Park Street Complex this morning, and the recycling bins here have been opened and made available to all of our employees and county team, and even your families. So if you've got recycling at home, please bring it here. And again, the county practices what we call single source separation. So we'll ask you to separate newspapers, cardboard, plastics, and your colored glass, but it's all here, and it's open from 7:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. So for those of you that this location is more convenient than the Beach Lake Recycling Center, we're hoping to see an increase in recycling and make it easier for you.
I will add to that there are some details about how to prepare your recyclables for the Wayne County Recycling Center on the website, waynecountypa.gov. If you want to get some more information about the Wayne Tomorrow projects and initiatives, you can go to waynetomorrow.com, and you can follow both of those on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well.
And there is a link for Wayne Tomorrow on our website here as well.
Yep.
Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
care.
everybody.
Thanks. Okay. So you had like over 70 people, I think.